Elworthy for his election on the board, and we look forward to working with you, Mark, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
So the first business will be the reorganization of the board, and I will accept nominations for the chairman.
I make a motion that Mary Rose take out for chairman of the board. I'll second.
Are there any other nominations for chairman? Move nominations be closed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for your support. Nominations for vice chair.
I'm going to nominate Dino Suspantis.
Are there any other nominations? Move nominations closed. All those in favor of Dino Sopantis for vice chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations. Next nomination is the clerk. Accept nominations for clerk.
I'll make a motion. Jerry Buffton, clerk.
Are there any other nominations? Move nominations closed. All those in favor of Jerry Buffton for clerk? So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Okay, the first order of business is a review of minutes, and the minutes that are available for the board are April 5th, Selectmen's meeting, and April 19th. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for April 5th and April 19th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, Mark's going to abstain, 4 in favor.
15 and 19.
Okay, the board has a 7:10. Does anyone have 7:10? I don't know how
I have 7-11.
Okay. Board has a 7:10, 2000 junk dealer license renewals. And we have a request for a renewal from Paul Cherubini. Paul Cherubini here?
No, this is just an annual renewal.
Okay.
Just like our regular list of licenses, we just picked up in May instead of January like the other license.
Yeah, I just didn't know if he was... All right, that's a pretty standard. Does anyone have any questions on it? Any of the new board members? Or, as Michael said, this is a pretty standard thing. It's just a normal renewal.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we grant the request for the renewal of the junk dealer license for Paul Cherubini.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Board has a 7:15 on Richardson Place resurfacing and James Slavin. Jim, we're a little bit ahead of time, but you can come forward. Jim? Could you just give your secretary your address, Jim?
14 Richardson Place. What I'm up here for is all you people have been telling me you're going to fix the road except this guy. This guy right here talked to me. He said if he got in select man, he was going to see the senior citizens were taken care of good. Well, I don't think they're taking good care of the senior citizens. When a 90-year one woman breaks her hip, cracks her hip, another one breaks her hand, and one breaks her ankle, I don't think that's right. I think there should be something done. And who's Michael Ward?
Michael Ward.
You're Michael. Can I speak to you? In Massachusetts, they have a state code, right, for safety? Why don't they use it?
Well,
No. I'm telling you. I talked to somebody. There's a state code. Every street, every town, in every city is supposed to be accessible to walk on. A horse couldn't walk up that street I live on right now. And Jerry Buffton was up there, and they filled the blacktop, remember? And I was sitting on the porch, and I asked you what you're going to do. You put the stuff in, backed the truck up, backed it over it, took the blacktop with it. So what good's it use of putting blacktop in?
Jim, just to, and I know it's a frustrating situation for you, but truly there really is not much we can do other than advise you to submit an article to have it as a town-accepted street. It is not a town-accepted street.
But you got a letter already.
No, it has to go before town meeting. Can't go before the Board of Selectmen. It has to go before
In
town
other
meeting.
words, they're going to wait until somebody gets killed on the street before
Well,
they fix it. Is that right?
Jim,
That's what
all
they're going to do.
Jim, I can tell you
There's
this.
a hole in that street now 1.5 feet deep. One hole.
Well, certainly we can go up and we can patch it if
They
that's
can't patch it,
difficult.
it's unpatchable.
All I can tell you, sir, Jim, is that there are many private streets in the town of Clinton that are not town-accepted streets. Now, just listen to me out, okay? I know you're aggravated and I know you have a problem, but the problem can be solved, but you're going to have to submit an article to go before the taxpayers at town meeting to have your street accepted as a town street, okay? It is a private way.
Oh, who
Your
owns the
street is-
street? Who owns the street?
It's a private way, it is not it's not an issue of who owns the street, it's an issue that the street has not been accepted, it is deemed as a private way. It has to be accepted at town meeting as a town street before the town of Clinton will assume all of the responsibilities that go with it as a town-approved street. That's what you have to do, Jim. I'm sorry to tell you that that's the process.
What did you keep telling me every time you see
No.
me that you're going to see about the street? You told me yourself.
Yes, I did. I told you I was going to see about the street. We did go up, we did do patches on it.
Patchwork,
We can't,
the patch they put on there, you could, nothing.
but there is a solution for you, and you would have to have an article submitted to town meeting.
Well, that ain't what I was told. I was told if you write a letter with the signatures of the people who live on the street, and Dino told me he read the letter. The other day, you told me you read that letter.
I just got my letter yesterday, Jim.
No, you told me the other day when
No,
I
I
was
told
talking
you
to
what the process would be.
No, you told me you read the letter.
I just got my letter yesterday,
Well, how could you told me a week ago you read the letter then?
not I.
Okay, Jim, but that, we can't tell you we're going to be up and pave your road because there are many town-accepted streets that are in dire need of resurfacing. and
Why do you
repair work.
people get up there and tell, when you want to get elected or something, like he told me, Mr. Earthway, I talked to you down on the corner there, and I told you about the
Yeah.
street, if you remembered.
Right.
Well, if I get in, I'll see if you can do something for you on that street. You guys are always talking about you're going to help the senior citizens, but you're doing nothing for the senior
But I
citizens.
think what you-
Nothing. All they give the senior citizens an abatement for $500, and they work 100 hours. And some of them are unable to work.
Okay. Jim, if we can I'll just give Mark a chance to.
I think what they're trying to do is give you the direction with a citizen petition to bring forward to take your street as an accepted town street. We can then take action in front of town meeting to then work on getting your street paved. But we are not in a position to pave a private way. It's not owned by the town.
Well, I've been told for 20 years now they're going to fix the street, over 20 years. And they haven't done anything on it except put a patch here and a patch there. And a
They're
horse
not-
couldn't walk
they're
up
not-
it, I
They're not
told you.
empowered to do anything other than, and
Well, why don't you-
that patchwork is out of the goodness of some folks' hearts. The legalities of it is it's a private way, and what we can do from a course of action is bring forward in town meeting, have the townspeople vote to accept.
When's the town meeting?
The next town meeting would be in the fall, that you'd be able to have that done.
In other words, the road's going to be there for another 10 years, like that, and it's not right. I'm going to call the state, not you people, the state. There's a safety place in Boston, and he knows that, Michael Ward knows that there's a place in Boston that you're supposed to have safe accession to all the streets in this town, or any town. You're supposed to be able to walk up them.
Well, Jim, again, all I can
You
say,
people don't care.
yes, we do care. Yes,
No,
we do.
if you
Jim,
care, why shouldn't they fix the street?
Jim, let
When
me
a
tell-
91-year-old woman, an 87-year-old woman, and a 74-year-old woman will walk up that street and break their bones.
Jim, we have hundreds and hundreds of streets in the town of Clinton, and I would venture to say
You
that
haven't got one
better-
street as bad
better
as
than
that one.
Better than 50% of those streets need to be resurfaced or
Yeah,
have some
I
work
know.
done on them.
I know I shouldn't have
We
came.
only have so much money to do. We are lucky if we get 10
Well,
streets.
you can pay $103,000 to have somebody tell you where to put a telephone pole.
Well, I don't know what you're referencing to.
You know what I'm talking about, the
I don't know
survey.
what you're referencing to.
But you can't fix the
All I'm saying to you
street.
is, there is a solution to this. You can submit an article for the special town meeting, and your street has to be accepted
Then if
as...
they accepted the street, it's not going to be done for 2 years.
Well, Jim, we have a list every year, and we try to do X amount of streets. We're on a limited budget.
Bill Gilmore told me last year he was going to fix it. God rest his soul.
Absolutely. Okay. That's all I can tell you, Jim. Your street's not going to be fixed next week. Don't expect it to be. And I'm sorry to say that, because you're not the only
Well, I'm
person
gonna
that
tell you
complains.
something. I'm gonna tell you right now, before we even get too far. He's probably a lawyer. One of you is a lawyer, you probably are. If the chief falls in that street, or any one of them, they're gonna sue the town. And they can sue the town too. So they gotta do something about that street.
Okay.
I mean, you can't leave a street like that and then come up here and say, you people get up there and want to be elected and say, oh, I'm going to do this for the senior citizens. I'm going to give them this, I'm going to give them they don't even pay for a Christmas party for them here. Other towns do.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
I'll probably get my street done 6 years from now.
The board has a, next agenda item is a federal block grant public hearing, but that isn't until 7:25. And we are a little bit ahead of schedule, so if you'd like, we can go out of...
I'll make a motion, we go out of order.
Second.
Okay. And we'll go into any discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go into the administrator's report, Michael, if you want.
The items we have for the board's consideration tonight, the first are late-night closings for the month of May in the year 2000. Clinton Turner's Old Timer Restaurant, Ringside Cafe, and today we received a letter from Jack's Restaurant.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, we grant the late night closings for the month of May.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's
One
unanimous.
abstention, Madam Chair.
4 in favor, Mark abstains.
The next item is a request from the MDC, the Metropolitan District Commission. They have been working with the Massachusetts National Guard to supply howitzers for the 4th of July concert at the Dam this summer. As things do get booked up and they're trying to get some support and push from the town, and as well as maybe our elected officials to get involved with the Massachusetts National Guard and see if we would send a letter and ask if they would help us out to try and supply these for the event.
It's the pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion, we grant the request to send a letter in support of the MDC on for the National Guard getting the howitzers.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you. Next item is a request from the school department, the athletic department for Clinton High School, to use Town Hall Auditorium for Saturday, May 27th to host the annual athletic recognition and award ceremony.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make the motion, we grant the request.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next item is a request from the Worcester Regional Transit Authority to change the bus route as it comes through the town of Clinton. A request was made some time ago, I believe in the fall, by the CEO of Clinton Hospital, Tom Devens, asking WRTA if they could have the bus route access Clinton Hospital to allow people to get public transportation to Clinton Hospital. So after review of the request, they came out, they did some studies, they looked at different routes, and the WRTA has come up with a proposed route that is subject to approval by the local boards. The board here would be Board of Selectmen. And what they would propose is that the bus would come in Route 70 from Worcester. It would come up, go down, I believe, we have the route here in the packet. It would go over High Street, down to the end to Water Street, take a left at Water Street, and it goes down to the depot. Normally what it does at that point is takes a left onto Main, travels up to the Head Start building, sits there for 10 or 15 minutes, does a turnaround and come back and retrace their steps on the route back out to Worcester again. What they're proposing is when they come over High Street, down Water to the depot, they will extend across through the depot onto Sterling Street. They'll eliminate the Main Street portion, the Main Street turnaround. They'll continue across Sterling Street, take a right at the four-way stop sign, and then go up Greeley to Clinton Hospital. And then the route would come back to repeat that pattern again to go back out to Worcester. So I believe in their studies, there may have been only 1 or 2 people that might be affected by the change that would have gotten on say at the Head Start or along Main Street. And hopefully what this would do, it would allow more public access to the bus route, but also it would bring people up to Clinton Hospital if need be. It had been told to us that a lot of people in town, a lot of that needed public transportation would actually take the bus all the way into Worcester sometimes to get medical care instead of going up to Clinton Hospital, because it's more convenient just to jump on the bus and get a ride right to the hospital in Worcester, get back on the bus and get a ride right back to their door. So this might encourage people to get on the bus and go up here to Clinton on the other side of town instead of going all the way into Worcester. So.
That's true.
So if something that the Board of Selectmen is supportive of, then a vote can be taken and a letter sent to WRTA, and then they will initiate the change at that point.
Well, yeah, I'll accept questions before we move on.
Okay.
Sure.
Just, Mike, do we know how many trips a day the bus would make in town?
I can't say exactly. I believe it comes in 3 times. It'd be in the morning, the noon, and the evening. I believe it's three trips that it would make.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one, too. That's all they figured, was you're losing is 1 or 2 persons up there?
Yeah, that's what they
on
say,
Main
1 inbounding and 2 outbounding.
Street? At all different times, I mean, that's been the,
I believe they did come out at several different times and take studies and surveys and rider surveys to try and determine, where the usage was. And because at first they were, they took a close look at it at first, WRTA, and they were kind of apprehensive about changing the long-established route. But when they came out themselves and did the surveys and felt that it would have a minimal effect, and then they could still reach the goal of getting up to Clinton Hospital, that they're now proposing this to the town. It's up to the town to approve it, but it still would have to come from them to be willing to administer that change and do that, and they seem supportive of that now, so.
Any other questions? Board want to move on it?
I'll make the motion, we grant the request for the change of the route.
Second the motion, Madam Chair.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a request for a reserve fund transfer from the Finance Committee. This is in the fuel tank account. This would be to Bursaw Gas and Oil. It's for delivery of gasoline and diesel fuel in the amount of $6,695.78.
Just to bring everyone up to date, the tanks down at the DPW are used by the fire, the police, the DPW, and I don't know, seniors.
Fire department, senior
Yeah, the fire,
vans.
the police.
Parking
And
lots.
obviously, they've depleted, but it does come out of the DPW budget, so we have to get some money in there because that's obviously an invoice that's outstanding. So-
Right, and the price of fuel going up as
Absolutely.
we have been budgeting,
Yep.
fairly similar for the last number of years, and price of fuel this year impacted that as well. As well as in the summer and the fall, we had some damage to the underground tank
Tanks,
there, so
right.
we had to go to some private stations in the interim until that was fixed, and that price was a little bit higher than what we get on the bid, normally bulk bid from the supplier, so.
But where it says a request from the Department of Public Works, I just want to make sure that everyone knew that it wasn't just the Department of Public Works that is
Right,
using the
there's
fuel,
several
but all of
agencies, right.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, we grant to send this to the Finance Committee for $6,695.78.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next item is the request for a reserve fund transfer in Selectmen's miscellaneous expense. The Selectmen have previously had this request before them for $4,500. It went to the Finance Committee, and at the time, there were $2,500 in outstanding bills. So the Finance Committee approved the request at $2,500 to pay what was available. And now that there's other bills that have come up to the amount of $1,000, and the Finance Committee is asking for a new request now for that $1,000. It's still less than the $4,500 that's already been approved, but they still would like it to see a new request and signed off in a new form and brought back to them in that fashion.
It's a pleasure, the board.
I'll make a motion, we send them the voucher to borrow $1,000 from finance again.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And the next item is another Finance Committee transfer request. It would be for the street painting account. What this would allow is to provide some additional funding to try and line the entire town in anticipation of the 150th parade in June. Currently, the funding that is in that account is only just to line streets, generally in the downtown area and along the Memorial Day parade route. We generally, for the last several years, don't have enough money to do the whole town, which would be nice to do, but we do as much as we can. So with this request, seeing it's the 150th celebration, to try and really kind of spruce up the roads, asking for some additional funding to try and do that one whole contract instead of the downtown area that we usually do.
Okay. It's a pleasure of the board.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we transfer the funds from the reserve fund to the Finance Committee in the amount of $6,020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one question on the amount. Is this to cover the parade route in the main streets, or
All
is this an
of
attempt to
the
get?
streets.
Okay.
Right, it
All
would
of
be
the
all the
streets.
main streets as well.
Because it's
right.
been a few years since we've
Yeah.
done it, and it really,
Yeah,
the whole town is in
going towards
dire need,
maintenance.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so that's pretty much, and I think we went by, there was 4,800 in the budget, and the last time we did it, I think Judy said it was 11,000,
That's
so.
basically
yeah,
what I was getting.
yeah.
So this is to meet that 11?
Right, right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, Mark, you're here.
Thank you.
Right on time. Mark, and Michael finished his administrator's
Yep, all
report,
set.
unless you had
Thank you.
something else.
Thank you very much.
No additions, Mike?
Right, yeah, well said, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
God bless you.
You're on, Mark.
Yeah, this is a public hearing on the 1999 law enforcement block grant. Okay, this is a block grant, and as a requirement for this block grant is, one, we hold a meeting with the different people, and it's required in the block grant, and decide how this money is to be spent. And then secondly, that we hold a public hearing, and this is the public hearing phase of that block grant. The block grant total is $27,510, of which a match amount of that is $2,751, which is 10%. I intend on taking the $2,751 from our law enforcement fund, from our drug forfeiture account. We did hold our meeting, and that was held on April 14th at the courthouse at 10:30 a.m. In attendance were Assistant District Attorney Aaron Donnelly, Chief Probation Officer Bernard O'Donnell, Clinton Middle School Guidance Counselor William Grady, Mark Coolidge from the Clinton Alcohol Information Center, Dare Officer John Moran, and myself. These were suggestions on how that we were to spend the money. $23,600 of it was for equipment. Most of it was to replace equipment, or there was a new stringer spike system that would go into a cruiser, and that would we'd have a stringer spike system in every cruiser. We have expense of $5,400 for portable radios. That's just to replace worn radios that the officers carry. Those are the carry radios. Smith & Wesson bicycle. We do have bicycles over there, but they're aging, and that would update the equipment on the bicycle. Copier. We intended last year to buy a copier with block grant money, but we were locked into not a maintenance, a lease agreement with them, and that lease agreement is running out. So the money that we were going to buy with the block grant is being spent differently last year. The micro lens, that's for fingerprint photography. It has to be detailed, and the detective says they need that lens. And the computers are to replace computers, portable computers there in the cruisers. And the printer is I guess it's a printer that for photographs, so it gives you more details. We're moving from the film photography now over to the digital photography, and we need a better quality printer. And that printer should give us, we'll probably even be able to get detail on fingerprints on it. And the remainder of the money, about $3,910 will be directed activities, and that would be directed towards more than likely over at Lakeside Ave in the summer weekend nights. They're busy nights over Lakeside Ave, Friday and Saturday nights.
I'd like to do is just open up, Mark, to see if anyone may have any questions. Mark, do you have any?
Just one. Looking through here. Mark, does any of this money, can you appropriate some of this money for like walking detail for these guys to go, police officers to go and walk the beat, per se?
The directed activities, that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be a walking beat at Lakeside Ave or a bicycle beat, depending on the officer, which he prefers. We don't force them to ride the bicycle. If they don't want to ride the bicycle, they walk a beat over there.
And that would just be for the Lakeside area, no other areas in town?
That's directed towards Lakeside Ave. There's other money that's going to take care of downtown. You should be seeing officers on bicycles down there now. I know they're scheduled. They have been scheduled for the past 2 weeks.
With a bike, without a bike, if they want to walk.
Yeah, there should be walking beats. Walking beats are assigned now round the clock down on High Street. Also, there's bicycle beats periodically. I think there's 5 4-hour shifts per week on bicycle patrols, and they're not confined to the High Street area. They can go to the depot. They can go into the neighborhoods, depending where the problems are and where on a certain day the lieutenant may assign them to a specific area on the bicycle beats.
Okay, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just one quick question on the copier, Mark. Is that something that you'd go into another lease agreement with, or would that be expended to actually purchase and own?
We'll be able to purchase this time because of the block grant money, so there will be a maintenance contract with it, but we will own the copier itself. In the past, we've been leasing them, and we have the lease payment, and then you have a maintenance agreement. This way we won't have that monthly lease agreement payment.
And I haven't got it.
Dean?
Yeah, on the portable radios, Chief, does it include, what does it include? Radio, spare battery, chargers? What's included for that $5,400?
$5,400. That's the new Motorola radios. It'll come with a charger, speaker, mic, antenna, battery. It'll be a whole setup. That's on 3710 frequency. And there's new ones with more capabilities. I don't know exactly what they do, but this is what the lieutenant looked up the prices on this equipment. You can see his name on the bottom.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, being that it is a public hearing, Mark, is there anything else you'd like to add? Or?
No, that's it. Unless public comments, that's the purpose of this meeting.
Being that the selectmen have no other comments and the chief will, and it is a public hearing, we'll ask if there's anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of the block, grant block. Move that closed. Anyone like to speak against it? Move that closed. Declare the public hearing closed. And ask the board if...
I'll make a motion, we accept the block grant for, do you want the other 24,000 or the 27,510?
27.
Actually, this is going to be a no-cost
Yeah.
item for the
All right,
town.
27,510 then.
The 27, it's 27,510 total, $2,751 is coming from the drug forfeiture account from seized drug monies is where we intend on taking the money.
Make a motion, we accept it for $27,510.
I'll second the motion, Madam Chair.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Mayor.
Mike, we're into the draft for the town meeting warrant. Okay. And
The board had any questions? At the last meeting, we went through the different articles, and so now if the board had a chance to review them, and if the board had any questions or comments on any of the articles, that could be available if you want to go through them again.
well, it stands at 26 articles that would be submitted for consideration at town meeting. And I don't know if the board wants to go one by one or... Well, I think perhaps it would be time well spent if we just gave everyone out there an example of what the warrant would look like if the board wants to. It shouldn't be that time consuming, so we can go forward on that. Would like to do that? Okay, Article 1, I don't know, Michael, if you want to, as we go along, I know that you certainly have a background in it, and perhaps I may defer over to you, Michael, as we go along. Okay. But Article 1 is just to receive the reports of the town officers, which is a standard article. Actually, the first 6 articles are standard articles. Article 2 is to see if the town will vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officials of the town as provided by Chapter 41, Section 108 of the Mass General Laws. And that basically is 2. 3 is to see if the town will raise and appropriate from the current tax levy or transfer the available funds such money as deemed necessary to defray town charges. The standard article. Article 4 is to authorize the town treasurer and town collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement for the fiscal year 2000. Again, that's a standard article. Article 5 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds the amount of $4,800 to be expended for social services.
Can't hear.
Can't hear, George? Okay. Article 5 is to see if the town would vote to raise and appropriate, take from available funds the sum of $4,800, said sums to be expended for social services, and that's the amount of $4,800. Article 6, can you hear me now? Okay. Article 6 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $7,000 to be expended as the town share for wheat. Article 7 is an unpaid bill to Clinton Hospital in the amount of $832.95. Article 8 is for the town's consideration for a police cruiser in the amount of $26,500. Article 9 is to see if the town will vote to amend the town of Clinton's zoning bylaws to change the zoning district boundaries of the town of Clinton zoning map for the parcel of land at 93-109 Mechanic Street, and with the intent to establish property from retail to industrial zoned. Article 10 is to see if the town will borrow $275,000, said sum to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for final design of a water filtration facility to be in compliance with the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. Article 11 is to see if the town will either, and again, the money source is to be determined, obviously, when this is all finalized, $10,200,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the construction of a water filtration facility for compliance with the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. Article 12 is to see if the town will vote an article for $10,000 or any other sum, said sum to be expended by the Board of Selectmen as a match requirement to a Lakes and Ponds grant from the Department of Environmental Management to be used for preservation of Mossy, Coach Lake, and South Meadow ponds. Article 13 is to see if the town would vote on a $25,000 article for monies in an interest-bearing account for the dedication to the partial funding of the 150th anniversary celebration for the town of Clinton. 14 is to see if the town will vote to enter into a financing agreement with Mass Development to borrow $42,002 or any other sum in brownfield site assessment funding for Phase 2 environmental testing at 184 Stone Street. To see if the town, Article 15, and this is essentially, Michael, you might want to get into this a little bit more in detail about what we're trying to do on this for the tax purposes. If you want to just...
Sure. Article 15 would be a tax increment financing agreement between the town of Clinton and Radius Product Development at 203 Union Street. What this article is asking is to approve a TIF for a company at this location. They've done substantial renovations and improvements to the building. With those improvements, it will now increase the assessment for that business, and what they're asking is for a 10-year incremental deal where they will pay incrementally the new costs of the taxes over a 10-year period. What they're paying now, their base tax will not go down. So what the town is getting in for money currently won't be decreased, but any potential future revenue over the next 10 years based on the new value would be lessened in incremental value up until 10-year period to give them this incentive to do this work. At the 10-year point, they will then be paying full taxes on the full valuation of the property. What this does, it gives them the incentive to do the work. It also is a requirement for them to tie into state incentive programs, that they would get tax cuts from the state, that they need to have a local deal first in order to go to the state to access their programs as well, so that everyone's working in tandem and supporting this project. So we're in negotiations right now with this company, and we're hoping for the next Selectmen's meeting to have a final agreement for the Board of Selectmen to review, and if the Selectmen approve that, and this article then would go to the taxpayers at town meeting to ask for their approval of that agreement that's negotiated with the Board of Selectmen.
And that's, I don't know if we mentioned, that's for the redevelopment of 203 Union Street. Thank you, Michael. Article 16, to see if the town would vote to accept in the amount of $50,625, said sum to be used by the police department as a match requirement to a federal grant for the Kids and Cops program. 17 is to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Section 51 of Chapter 127 from the Acts of 1999 to authorize the Retirement Board to grant an annual cost of living adjustment of a maximum of 3%. Article 18 is to see if the town will accept the provisions of Section 59 of Chapter 127 from the Acts of 1999 to establish a property tax work-off program under which senior citizens provide volunteer services to a municipality in exchange for a reduction in their property tax bills. And I might want you to go back, Mike, after I do 19 and 20, which are all the same, just to give an overview to the folks. Article 19 is to see if the town will vote to raise appropriate, again, the funding mechanism will be determined, the sum of $10,000, send some to be used to fund senior tax work-off rebate program. And Article 20 is to see if the town, again, will vote an article for $10,000 of any said sum to be used for a senior tax rebate program for the frail and disabled senior citizens that are unable to work.
Unable.
I'm sorry?
Unable to.
Unable to work.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh. I said able. Sorry.
No, unable, I'm sorry. So Mike, just to, if you might want to.
Sure. Article 18, this is a requirement. In 1999, the state legislature passed a statute that would set up some guidelines for communities to run a senior tax work-off program. Here in Clinton, we were already doing this. It's something we've done for the last couple of years. However, we had to, because there wasn't any provision in the law for us to do this, we had to do it as an employer-employee arrangement. So the seniors would work for the town, and then they would get a check cut to them with taxes taken out and Medicare tax and the whole bit, almost like a paycheck, and then they could use that money to then put towards their property tax bill. But what the legislature did was pass a law which allows this to be an abatement program. So now we don't have to take out taxes or employer taxes. That can just be used to reduce their property tax bill automatically, and it will just be a credit that they'll see on their tax bill. So they kind of gave us some tools, better tools to work with, and since it was a popular program, I think there are many other communities that are now looking at this, but Clinton has been doing it for a couple of years. By accepting this statute, which is up to local option, it allows us to take advantage of those new administrative tools to run the program better.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and also Article 21 is to vote to see if the provisions of Chapter 60, Section 3D of the Mass General Laws as amended to establish a fund to help defray the real estate taxes of low-income, elderly, and disabled persons, which as well goes in.
Right. What then the next two articles that go along with that 18 was funding sources for the work-off program. But Article 21 is a provision in state law. If the town accepts, it could provide a checkoff on property tax bills so that people can pay extra beyond their property tax that they owe to the town. They can pay an extra amount into a dedicated fund to be used for defraying costs of low-income, elderly, and disabled persons to help with their tax bills as well. There would be guidelines, and the program would be set up under the auspice of the Board of Selectmen and a committee that's set out in the law. But then once the guidelines are set up and the fund is established, it's all a volunteer program. Then it might benefit some people here in town.
Okay, thank you. Article 22. See, the town will vote to accept a donation of a quitclaim deed, for a parcel of land on Church Street in said town of Clinton, and transfer control and use of said property to the school department. Article 23, and I don't know, Dennis, if you want to speak on this? Or is there someone from the department? This Tony? Okay, Article 23 is to see if the town will vote to file the following home rule petition with the Massachusetts General Court. Section 1, notwithstanding the provisions of any general or special law to the contrary, and in order to promote the public good, the Clinton Retirement Board is hereby authorized and directed to grant an accidental disability pension under Chapter 32, Section 7 or 9 of the general laws to Clinton firefighters for any condition of impairment of health caused by any form of hepatitis, tuberculosis, and AIDS resulting in total partial disability or death. The provisions of this section shall apply only if the disabling or fatal condition is a type which may in general be presumed to have been affected been suffered in the course of his employment, and it goes on. So we'll yield the floor to you guys, so.
Okay, Dennis Parker, President of the Clinton Firefighters Union. Mark, congratulations on your recent election. This article is the foundation of one of the stepping stones, hopefully, that we can put in place. You as members of the Board of Selectmen and the townspeople, we're asking the citizens of the town of Clinton to protect the people that do the public safety work. As you're well aware, the Clinton Fire Department runs an ambulance service second to none in the state. And with that comes the unfortunate exposure to people whom we do have many citizens in the town that have many of these infectious diseases. Although many precautions are taken to limit the exposure, the firefighters, EMTs that are doing their job for the town of Clinton, exposures do happen, and the infection rate is spreading. Tony's been following the infection rate nationwide, and I know that last time I heard Philadelphia Fire themselves, a 14% infection rate with hepatitis C. One of the diseases that right now are infections that there is no known cure for. It does destroy the liver, and it is fatal. So, you know, not only are we dealing with the everyday risks of being firefighters, we're taking on the responsibilities and the risks of running an ambulance service for the town of Clinton. And so we are, from time to time, exposed to the various infectious diseases. I know that when we took over the ambulance service, many of these infectious diseases weren't even heard of at the time. And then they started labeling them as the years went on. Hepatitis C has been deemed an epidemic in the fire service, those that are running the ambulance services. As you can see, some of the files that Tony has here are piling up. I saw that go from just a few pages to what he's sitting here in front of you, and that's only a tip of the iceberg. So we're, again, we're going to hopefully put into place not only this article, but policies that will protect the firefighters that are providing a service to the town of Clinton. And hopefully we will have the unanimous support of the Board of Selectmen and the townspeople in protecting the firefighters that are providing the services to you. And with that, I'll have Tony speak for a few minutes.
How you doing? Tony Uraro, Clinton firefighter. Since 1990, couldn't detect hepatitis C until 1990. So if you had hepatitis C anytime before that, you wouldn't even know. Now they're getting to, testing is becoming more important and more involved, and they're finding out solutions. But the progress is just not there. We're all aware of HIV and AIDS, but another sneak disease that's coming into play now is meningitis. That's coming into play. That's also taking people. It's not critical and life-threatening, but you will be out of work for a while. Tuberculosis is another one. Now, tuberculosis is something that will be with you for life. Yes, they can cure it. As far as not curing it, put you back on your feet, but you never could be cured, you'd be a carrier. We're talking about our families are involved too. It's not only just us. We know the risk of the job. We all have no problem with the risk of the job, but our families are also at risk. We're taking the precautions, and the town has provided us with the equipment that we need, but every now and then, when you see someone hurt, you just make the move. You try to do what you can. You don't try to, you're supposed to stop and get those gloves, but you know how it is. If you've ever seen us on an ambulance call, the patient safety and concern comes first. So what I have here is a couple of put everybody a folder on infectious diseases, because like the majority of us, we're not really aware of this. And it gets more into a little bit of detail. At some point, I'd like you to read it so everybody can be up on what we're talking about. And like Dennis said, not only Philadelphia Fire, you have Miami, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. They're all starting to come up. It's starting to be a study now, and they're trying to find out that in the healthcare service, it just happens. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the guys? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Article 24 is to see if the townspeople will vote to authorize the filing of special legislation with the state legislation to increase the number of licenses issued to the town of Clinton for the sale of all alcoholic beverages. And this is legislation to take effect upon passage, and such additional license to be issued to the wine merchant at 1175A Main Street, Clinton. Upon issuance of said license, the wine merchant shall, in return, bring forth his current wine and malt beverage license. Article 25 is to see if the town will vote to accept the private way known as Willow Street Extension as a public way. Article 26 is to see if the town will fund $2,000 to the South Meadow Pond Wildlife Association for the purpose of in securing liability insurance for the lease of the property commonly referred to as the Clinton Rifle Range. And that completes the articles for consideration at town meeting. Does the board have any comments or discussion that they'd like to take up on the articles? If not, would we like to move on acceptance of the articles?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the draft of the annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Any discussion? The only discussion I would say, that would be the 26 articles, Mark, that have been submitted to us.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That appears that will be the article that will be advertised, and obviously it will go to the Finance Committee. Citizens' petitions are not approved or disapproved by the Finance Committee, but any money articles that are on this warrant will go to the Finance Committee for their approval or disapproval. And after that process has been done, they will meet jointly with the Board of Selectmen. Then, as appropriate time is deemed, the administrator will have it advertised, and hopefully will be a go for June 12th annual town meeting, and that's our ultimate goal. Okay. We have gone through our administrator's report and all other business. We do have a joint meeting scheduled for 8:30 with the school committee and Parks and Rec, so we are a little bit ahead, and the only other business that we have is old and new business. And one of those is the rifle range lease that we've discussed. And we have basically agreed, I believe, Michael, on that last meeting that we met on an off night with the association, and a vote was taken by the then Board of Selectmen unanimously, and the only question was the insurance, and I know we were waiting on to see if there could be something done as far as a rider on our policy. I don't know if we were able to secure an answer.
We still haven't got an answer, but I think it won't affect the lease agreement because it's still going to be required.
Right.
It's just based on the payment issue as to whether it can go through the town or whether it would be done separately. So I don't think the town would want to eliminate that provision, so the language would stay the same.
Okay. So is the board prepared to sign the, do you have the original tonight, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Is the board prepared to sign the original?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want us to do it now?
Okay.
Okay, we can do it later. I just want to make sure the board. Is Claire here? Claire, do you want to come forward and... Claire, do you want to start with the Lakes and Ponds grant, or it's up to you? 11.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, that's fine. I would like to ask the board this evening to enter into a grant contract with the Department of Environmental Management to execute the Lakes and Ponds grant. As the board is aware, the town of Clinton worked cooperatively with the South Meadow Pond Lakes and Wildlife Association to ensure that that we could move ahead with this project. And DEM is, their staff are telling me that what we need to do is actually set up an account with the Treasurer's Office and bring the DEM funds into the town prior to town meeting to try and get the matching funds. This is necessary because DEM need the monies to clear from their accounts by June 30th at the latest. So they'd like to bring them to the town as soon as possible. If for some reason the town did not appropriate the matching funds, we would then simply push the funds back to DEM. So it's not a commitment to those matching funds. It's simply saying, yes, our intent is that this will move forward. We are going to town meeting for the matching funds, and we will set up an account for the funds to come to the town. Michael has a copy of the contract, which I'd ask you if you would sign later, if it's the board's pleasure.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Claire? Okay. Board want to vote?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we match the $10,000 grant for the Lakes and Ponds program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
We're accepting this grant coming in, we're not actually matching the grant.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So
I'll
we
take that
need
back.
to modify that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the grant for the Lakes and Ponds program.
Right, because we haven't
Right,
voted.
right, yeah.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. I have a couple of other things if we may go into them. Thank you. We've been very fortunate with the Central Park project in that we are going to be able to do conserve the statues in addition to replicating the fountain. In order to do this, we need to, the Board of Selectmen, the chairperson, needs to sign a contract amendment with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, which is just a simple piece of language saying that it is our intent to do the statues as well. In addition to that, we did put out to go through a full procurement process to find a conservator for the statues, that being the Spanish-American War and the Civil War monuments. The Central Park Committee met yesterday evening and we reviewed all the proposals and decided that the most qualified and best price proposal was that of Rika Smith McNally and Associates in the amount of $25,120. She would like to start work on the monuments tomorrow and would have the project completed by May 25th, which would obviously be very nice because it would be in time for the Memorial Day celebrations. She submitted an excellent proposal, and it would be my wish tonight if the board would accept and enter into a contract for the $25,120. Town Council has had a brief chance to review the very small contract.
Well, we could, if the board chooses to move, it could be under the condition that if everything seems to be in order. Okay. Are there any other questions for Claire on this?
I just want, where's the 25,000 coming from? Is this part of the grant?
Right. No.
It's a combination of Massachusetts Historical Commission grant funds, that being in the amount of around $11,492, plus matching funds from the town of Clinton UDAG account, which have already been appropriated. It's not using any additional appropriation.
Okay. That was my concern.
Any other question? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make them. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we enter into the contract with Dennis's approval.
Second.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you very much indeed.
You're on a roll. You want to keep going?
I think the final piece that we were hoping to discuss tonight, I've conferred with town council, and we'd rather perhaps look into it a little more and get back to the board, if that would be okay with the board.
That's fine, sure.
Thank you very
Okay,
much
thank you very
indeed.
much.
Thanks.
Okay, also, the board has received a letter from the Council on Aging Director requesting permission to place 5 large flower boxes on the sidewalk in front of the senior center, which will be maintained by the seniors. The department has, the Public Works has concerns about these, so I don't know, Jerry, if you wanted for access, do you?
It's just the sidewalk's so narrow down there as it
Yeah.
is. I think people getting out of their cars are gonna trip over trying to get in there. It's narrowest part of the whole sidewalks in town are down there. From Oxford's Courts down.
Well, why don't we just limit it to, instead of 5, like 3 or something? So I think it's just something seasonal.
There's already a couple down there.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's something to be year-round. Maybe we can just...
They are there year-round.
They're not something they can remove.
They don't take them down. The other ones there that the people donated are all down the streets and they're year-round.
Right.
All them
Those
flower
barrel
boxes.
types, the bucket bottoms?
No, there's the long wooden ones, the box ones there with the names on them. And there's one right in front of that now.
Could we work with them on looking at a portable type of setup that they either have closer to the front of the building rather than right on the curbside?
Other than the people walking down the sidewalk, if you're looking at anything, you're gonna trip over. It's narrow down there. It isn't like up in Aubuchon's and up there where the sidewalk's a little wider. It's kind of, I don't know.
I personally haven't been down there, so I don't
Yeah,
it's hard to... Well, why don't we defer it and take a look at it and see if there's something that can be worked out.
Yeah.
Maybe they could do something that they attach onto the building or something like that, where it's up off the ground.
It's mostly windows there. They got, it's mostly big window in the front, yeah.
Glass, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, committee, anyone have anything on committee reports?
Madam Chair, just one under the recycling committee met last week for Earth Day, and it was a good turnout. We had a lot of tires.
You
TVs
didn't have the
and-
nicest weather day.
No, it was downpouring the whole morning from 8 to 12, but it was a good turnout. We even had the regulars, the newspapers and the plastic, and it was a good turnout, so I don't have the exact numbers in from Debbie Grant yet, but when I do, I'll read them out at the next meeting.
Good.
So it was a good turnout. And we are looking to have another one in the fall.
Great. Excellent. Any other committee reports? Do you have everyone here from your committee? I don't see anybody from Parks and Rec, so why don't we...
Yeah, there.
Why don't we take a 5-minute adjournment and then we'll come back?
I know there's a couple of Parks and Rec over the meetings.
Okay, why don't we take a 5-minute break then? Because all the other business is done except for that. Okay? We'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back. What I would like to suggest is that this will stay as an open meeting, and certainly cable can stay and the press can stay, but what we would like to do, and I think it would serve a good purpose if instead of we had people 10 feet away from the Board of Selectmen, that we prefer to have the school committee and the Parks and Rec committee come forward around the table, and really the intent of this, and the superintendent of schools, to have this be a working session and open some dialogue. So why don't we do that, and I think it'll...
Can I just ask you, Mark, do we have our architect with us this evening?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You could have some spacing.
Yeah. Yeah. If a couple of the guys want to just move that table there, maybe it'll add more, bring it in.
Yeah, in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, because then you can get some around there too. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Okay.
Take some notes, Eric.
Mike, nice to see you.
Okay.
No, this is,
That's another waiver.
this is the lease.
Oh, okay.
I need to get back to Mike.
I'm talking, I can't run.
We can put them in that packet.
That's the original fill out, yeah, fill out. Okay, so I think we have everyone that's going to be here is going to be here.
Silence.
Well, I don't know this.
They say silence
I
is
don't know.
golden.
Mr. Piscopo says he can swear him in right now in case he
Yeah,
wants to
I
get
can
involved.
swear him in if he wants to. Is he sworn in? Have the vote.
This morning, yeah.
No.
Well, I don't know that that's necessary, Eric. I mean, I think this is really an opportunity for us to open up some discussion, and certainly we look forward to you to participate. I mean, you know, we know you're elected, and, you know, go see the town clerk at your convenience, but I don't see that as a reason why you can't participate. Okay, Jenny,
Well,
nice
thank
to
you
see
for
you.
having us. And could we have copies of the joint meetings that have been held up to this date and today's?
Sure, absolutely. I think Mike has gotten most of those.
Right this second?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Why we're meeting is we're just trying to resolve the access use of the ball fields behind the high school. The Ash Street Athletic Park.
No, the Dane Field.
The Dane Field.
Oh, now it's the, all right, the Dane Field.
Let's give respect to the...
Okay.
to the name.
And that's why we're meeting here today. We've been unsuccessful in getting our meetings together.
No, I think that's another,
That's another
that's another
Yeah,
issue.
Don't go
That's
there.
another issue. Go ahead, Jenny.
And we just wanted to get the three committees together so we can get everything out in the open and see what needs to be done to get this letter into us so we can submit it by June 5th.
I think some of the issues, obviously, I'm just going to start to open up lines of discussion here. I know that there has been obviously discussion, and particularly on my part, and since we've last met, a lot of my concern as well is the ball fields, focus on the playground area as well. Now, since we last met, I have taken a few days off where I was back in a town around noontime. And I have been down in that area. I purposely went down into that area and observed a number of people utilizing that playground area during the midday. Did go back and checked a few hours later and did see again, and this was, by the way, during the week, not weekends, this was during the weekdays, and did again observe a number of women down there, and in a few cases, gentlemen with small children. And I have a real concern about that, being that, to my knowledge, there is no other facility of that magnitude anywhere in town. So I think we seriously have to address that issue, and I would think the Parks and Rec would want to address that issue. You know, I think that's real important. I think that was one of the things that the Parks and Rec, when we were talking Dane Field, were very concerned about that aspect of Dane Field going away. And in fact, there was some concern about keeping that part of Dane Field still functioning, the playground area. And, you know, I know that it's been said that, you know, you only need it in a certain amount of hours, but again, you're taking away something that can't be replaced anyplace else out of town for that particular age group of kids and parents that want to utilize it.
Well, we don't propose to keep anybody off the field. Our recesses are all supervised, and most of them are going to be, I think they've suggested using different sections of the ball field for recess and for gym classes, so nothing gets worn in one spot and not with the other, and...
No, but this is the playground area.
Just to add something, if I'm allowed to, there are 2 additional playground areas that are part of the project. Both our preschool and our kindergarten classes have their own play areas, so they are not going to be in that area whatsoever. So that takes out a group of, there's 2 other play areas that specifically are for that age group. So those children will be in their own supervised play areas. They won't be part of this at all, resulting thereby in a lesser number of students being out in general. And from the very beginning, I've stated that it is not our intent to deny anybody access to any part of that property. I think that it's very possible that everyone can coexist without problem in that area. I really do believe that. We have that situation right now. There is a tot lot at the high school. There's a tot lot at Parkhurst School. Both of those lots are open throughout the day. We do not deny people access to those lots during the day. And it is our intent, likewise here, we have no control of it anyway, but it is not our intent to say to people, you cannot be on that area because we intend to be there. That's not our intent.
Isn't there one also at the elementary school right now? Yeah.
There's a new one that's just put in at the elementary school, that is correct.
That one may be
And
moved.
of course, when we move to the building, that one was another one that will be available as well. That's for an older age child in preschool.
I think you're going to have different height requirements and whatnot for the different playgrounds.
This is an older playground for
Yeah.
older age group,
Okay.
the one that's at the new field right now.
And by any chance, with the times you drove down there, because I've driven down several times in the last few weeks too, the only week that it was really, there was a lot of activity down there was the school vacation week. Was that when you went down?
One of the
Week
days
prior
it
to
was,
Easter?
one of the days it was, but it was the prior week too as well.
I have been there, I must say, every single day for the past 8 days. I think 2 days I saw people on there, running down all day long. I think one was a Saturday.
There is a concern, at least I've been down there with the, I think the age of the kids that are jumping around and bouncing around on that thing, which is a different issue, but certainly something Parks and Rec I think is going to want to look at. Bigger kids, 12, 13-year-olds jumping off that thing during the day and during little leagues and things like that, so maybe posting some restrictions on
That's what
the
I
size of the
noticed
kids
down
that are
there,
knocking little...
14,
Yeah,
15 years old in the playground, not the little kid.
We're not finished down there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there are signs to be posted. One of them is keeping them off the rocks. It's not only dangerous, but they didn't cut the brush down, but there's stumps, which they're going to grow back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That will have to be taken care of, but the kids were up there, and of course I was down there Saturday, and I kept telling them to get off, but there are signs that are going to go up.
Okay, good.
If I could just, I'm not going to say much tonight, but the only thing I'd like to point out is that we do allow other groups to use the field to the exclusion of the others, and everyone knows that. When minor leagues playing there, nobody in town go down there and play on the field the minor leagues playing on.
Yeah, but there's another field there.
It's the exact same, well, there's 2 minor league teams playing that day, they can't play. T-ball, they can't play, okay? Whatever we're not looking for the whole field, we're looking for a piece of it. And I think whenever we have an organized activity down there where kids have gotten involved, I think we're much better off than having kids unorganized down there and unsupervised as far as our liability goes, especially with that playground. If that playground has height and weight specifications for some kids that are under the age of 10 and 60 pounds, and some 15-year-old weighing 150 pounds lands on them, and we have it open, I mean, there's liability issues there. So, I mean, whenever we can have kids supervised, and I don't object to any league or anyone using that field, I think it's much better that way, where it is supervised. And I think that, allowing Clinton kids to use it, I don't see that as a problem, especially being supervised. And there's really nobody playing basketball from September to May in New England, especially up here.
So, but clarification, so on the chairperson's point, we will allow access on the playground
Yes.
with supervision during recess and whatnot.
So we'll be providing, we're not supervising people coming in.
Understood, so we'll be watching the
Our own
elementary students
Yes.
in that space.
That is correct. The children do not go, they never go outside unsupervised. If it's before school, there is supervision in the areas where they are waiting for school to begin. If it's recess, there is supervision. If it's physical education, there is a teacher with them. And then at the end of the day, they leave. So they're never out there unsupervised.
Yeah, I got a question about the green space you were talking about earlier, about the tot lots. This design in the new school, did you make any more room, any more green space for kids to play?
Correct.
You
The
did?
way the building has been designed, and we actually have the most recent design, you can see the overlay of what the original structure looks like in comparison to the new building, in case you'd like to look at that. And we've specifically designed it in such a way that it is far away, the academic portion of it, it forms a T. So the academic wing is as close as possible out towards the street. So it's really some distance away from the playground area. And built in that component, as the T comes out on both sides, we've provided green space right outside the classroom area. The kindergarten's on one area, and there's a play area. Every kindergarten has an exit out into the playground area.
And there's
outside
tot lots there for them and things?
Tot light is there for them, and it's right next to their rooms. And so it's a green area right outside their classroom, so it'll be very attractive when they're not out there as well. And a similar lot over by the preschool. As the T extends out to the back, the first portion of the T closest to, I'm having a hard time explaining it, but closest to the, it might be better if you look at it.
Yeah.
But there is the gymnasium comes first, and then behind the gymnasium is the cafeteria. So the section closest to the play area, that we're talking about the play fields, is the cafeteria, which in reality is used only, again, a portion of the day.
And we did pull the plan forward, so we're 35 feet away from the basketball court.
Closer to Church Street.
Closer to Church Street, we pulled away from the basketball court.
Did you lose the bus loops?
No.
Not at all.
They shifted the side.
They wrap it into the middle of the T, so they pull it.
Can you see from there? Basically,
That's the front.
Church Street's out here. This is just an overlay over the existing conditions. The bus loop comes in and down the front here. The existing fire station is right here. The academic wing down the center with the main entrance. Then the back that we're talking about, if you come down the road into the parking area behind the current fire station, what you can see with the hatched lines is the perimeter of the existing building as it is today. This being the industrial arts building, the academic wing, superintendent's office, and the back of the gym right here. This dashed and dotted line here is the extent of the basketball courts. So you can see we're pulled in from the industrial arts building. This is the cafeteria here, kitchen, pre-kindergarten, 4 of those, and 4 kindergartens there. There'll be a tot lot here, and then up at the current courtyard level, there'll be another tot lot here with 4 kindergartens coming out. So off of this corner, we're approximately 35 feet back. So it's another, I guess, 50 feet back from the current.
And that's where the top load is, right there in that cap right there?
One of them's here.
Okay.
And one of them will be here, at the next level up, which is the current courtyard level.
Those would be enclosed as well, so they'll be fenced off and secured. That'll increase
We'd like to take it.
Now, how are you proposing as far as maintaining it?
That's our main, that's our issue. As I said before, do we want to give it up? No. Do we want a new school? I guess the majority of the town voted in favor. So we're willing to work with the school department. But maintenance is our priority here. And, excuse me, we're not concerned about kindergarten and preschool. We're basically concerned about the older children. I do recess duty. I know how they play. I do phys ed. That's controlled. There's not many kids during the classroom. During a day, we're going to have approximately 720 children out there playing at some point in time. And that's multiplied by 5 times a week. That's a lot of wear and tear. You're shaking your head.
No.
Oh, okay. Honestly. We need some help in the maintaining. If something, we have just for example, covered grates. I mean, if something is torn up, we need something done right away. We can't wait months down the road. And we want it maintained. The playground is a main concern because, let's face it, it's only made out of plastic. okay? And these kids love it, and they're down there every day. I know I poke my head out the gym and see daycare on them all the time during baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in constant use. We need to negotiate, and that's where we are, okay?
Can I ask one thing? The playground right now is the elementary school.
It's not in use.
The one that was there is not in use?
The new one that they just put in,
No, not the new one. The other one that was there pre-existing.
yeah.
How long has that been there?
Well, Ed, I don't know, I've only been there 3 years. That was there quite a while. It was made out of the old pressure-treated wood, and it was made out of metal. It wasn't made out of plastic.
Okay.
Okay, and the new stuff that's over there now is made out of plastic. And as you know, it's expensive. And if I'm correct, I believe the playground alone down at the new field is $44,000. That's a lot of money.
What are they doing
It's
back with
from
the
plastic.
field playground?
I believe they're gonna give it to St. Mary's.
Yes.
Town property is going to St. Mary's? Is that a deal with somebody, or why not save it and use it for art?
Well,
We couldn't use
It's
it down there, Robert, because there was really no room for it.
and it wasn't up to
Playground we
code.
got now.
It wasn't up to code anymore to move it.
The codes
Let's
changed.
stay, I would hope that we could stay on
I don't
on
think
the new
the
game
issue,
field and the maintenance issue of the new game field. I think that's the
Right.
most important thing that we need to talk about. And that's a valid issue that he has, so.
Yeah.
Just to go back to the previous discussion we had, and that question was raised before, specifically it was asked, would we be willing to contribute to that? And I assured the board that that would definitely be the case. And specifically it was said, I believe it was by you, Mark, if the Parks and Rec provided the manpower, would we provide the materials? And I said, absolutely. I have no problem with that whatsoever, and I still hold to that.
Would you be willing to make improvements if you saw them as being needed?
We're going to be using that property as well, and certainly we would work, I mean, this is an
In
area.
conjunction with
We'll work
all the
very
boards,
closely
I
with
guess.
Parks and Rec, and if there are issues as we go along that need attention, certainly we're going to contribute towards that.
That was their property, we'd have to keep it up. I don't see that as being an issue, right? Kids gotta play there, use it.
I'm not making it an issue, I'm asking a question.
We will be, yes. To answer your question simply, yes.
Super.
But let me also say that if the playground is destroyed because 14 and 15-year-olds are breaking it at night, then I don't think it's fair to come back to us and say, you need to fix that. And
No.
I'm not going to be pointing fingers either.
Yeah.
We're going to work together. You know, and I am fully confident that we can do this.
And that was on our list too. It depends on when it happens. I mean, if a slide breaks because of wear and tear, I don't think any young kid's gonna go out with a screwdriver. But it depends on what time of day. If it happens when the little minor league is down there, then that's a Park and Rec minor league issue. And they do, they help when they play also through their concession stand. And all the other fields that are in play, we charge fees. We have to. Otherwise, we just can't maintain them. And they don't have a problem kicking in extra money if we need it. And most of the time, we get by on the fees.
And because our areas are always supervised, whatever area we're going to use, if there's any specific damage, we're going to know that right away. Wear and tear, certainly. We would have been using, if this field hadn't become the new Dane field, we would have been doing that anyway. So there's no reason why we wouldn't do that. We want to be good neighbors.
Okay, so this is minor league season, okay? And they're down there. If the schools were to, let's just say the school is built, and it's a Thursday morning, and then you're going into the afternoon, because I know that the request was from, I'll say 8 to 3:30 in the afternoon. Is there an overlap there where the schools would?
No, the Clinton Youth Baseball, they don't start their games until 5:30.
Okay.
And
But how about
practices.
practice?
Practices don't.
Probably after school.
Well, they usually wait for these kids to get out of school.
That's what I'm saying, there's no, there wouldn't be a conflict in.
The earliest I've ever practiced as a coach is 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and as a coach, I
And that's right.
started about 5 because of work issues. Most of the coaches and parents can't get to the fields before 4:30 or 5.
Right.
In recesses is in the morning, which now it's 15 minutes in the morning, and then lunch is the biggest recess. That's 30 minutes. And that's about it. And if I take my phys ed classes out, which, like I said before, I can only handle one class. And, well, I've handled two before.
Okay, but when the school is completed and it's up and running, how many children at one particular time would be out in that facility at one given time?
The busiest time will be lunch recess. We'll be having 3 lunches. If your figure of 720 is accurate, divide that by 3, and that's the number of students that would be out there at any one given time. And that's the entire area. Although we may use
I had 4 classes for, well, total 2 hours.
We'll have 3. We're required to build a cafeteria that allows for 3 lunch periods. That's the state regulation. So the size of the cafeteria determines the amount of kids that are on recess, to tell you the truth. It's kind of a strange phenomenon, but that's the reality. So the seating capacity of the cafeteria determines how many students are out at recess at any one given time. So we're planning on 3 lunches. So whatever number of students we have who eat lunch, except the preschool and the kindergarten, divide by 3, and that's how many are out during that half-hour period.
Based on the student population in the school, though, we're probably looking at about between 200 and 230.
At a time.
Yeah, at a time.
But that happened twice, and the other kids use the kiddie lot, right?
There's, per grade, there's about 180 students. So, you have 4 grades.
I'm sorry, but there isn't a single class done that's 180. The grade 2 class is 135 as we speak.
I was banking on like 20, 21, 20 per class.
Well, there are 8 second grades. And there are 17 students per class.
Yeah, but we...
I don't want to
Yeah,
quibble
all
about
right.
this, but there is no class in that building with 180 students today. Grade 2 has 135 students today.
And they wouldn't be accessing the basketball court? This would...
Probably.
Would be?
Sure,
Should be?
3rd and 4th graders. If we had one at the elementary school right now, they'd be playing.
There's one at the middle school they don't use, do they?
Yes, sometimes, and I'm not up there, but when I'm on that side and I look out, yeah. If they're not playing basketball, they're using it for something else.
Is this during
Usually-
recess or for gym class?
Recess. During gym, they use it if it's, if they're doing that unit. I mean, you can do other things on them.
Yeah.
Asphalt.
Ed, you said there was 8 second grade classrooms at 17 kids in a classroom?
Approximately. Some have a few more, some have a few. That's
We're
about
up
right.
I believe we're up a little higher.
But, well, what does 8 times 17 come
Okay.
to?
136.
I said 135.
Yeah, you're up by me. That's good.
Sorry. So one
You can do
teacher
that.
got one extra kid. And I can tell you that in the kindergarten right now, it's 138 students. So, and all the kindergarten children are in that building. So there's only kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. I'm not going to give you a false number for grade 1 because I just don't have it on top of my head. But I can tell you the kindergarten, and there's only half of those there at a time right now because they're half-day sessions.
Right.
There's 138 kindergarten children this year and 135 second graders.
How many kids do you see coming in the kindergarten? Make approximately, do you know roughly?
Well, again, anticipating with the growth of the community and so forth, we are planning 8 kindergartens, 8 first grades, 8 second grades, 8 of every
And that's
level.
still part day. I mean, the kindergarten's not a full day yet, but...
They will become, right, that will be 8
By
full
next
day
year.
kindergartens with an average of between 18 and 20. So let's, just make it easier for me for math, say 20 kindergarten kids per classroom times 8. So anticipation is we'll have about 160 kindergarten children.
But again, I think that the plan would direct the kindergarten children to be playing on the kindergarten lot.
Correct. I just tried to get the overall enrollment.
Is that, you have any comments? Karen, any comments? No? This is going to be hard now, Mark and Mark.
Do you have any, I think, as a building committee member and now as a selectman, I think, in speaking with members of the school department and speaking with members of, some of the members of the Parks and Rec, I think, a personal issue I had was the maintenance and then the redirection of people. I think if there's a clear commitment that it's open access, then the redirect isn't as critical, although we can still point people to some other basketball courts in town, down at Vale and then up at Philbin Park. There are 2 courts that people could play on during the day. And then I think it's important that we clarify the open access to the 110 fields So people that want to do a lot of walking and when the track's completed, being able to walk laps around the track. And to just see more collaboration and cooperation between all the committees on this issue and hopefully make this project begin to move smoothly through. There's lots of little requests that will come forward as this building goes up that the town, different members, committees within the town will have to agree to and understand, and you know, there'll be every effort made by the architect and the building committee to make sure as we encounter those kinds of requirements or requests that we bring them forward to the particular commissions and make sure that they understand them. So.
I have a question for Mark or Mr. Philbin maybe. Do you guys have any estimate when that track and that field would be available for use?
Yes. Well, I defer to Mr. Sheridan here. I mean, our expectation is that the fields will be in our possession sometime in June.
The original date, the expected date, the anticipated date, if everything goes exactly, would be around June 30th. But we're not accepting the fields unless everything's done. So we will not accept them until we're pleased with their conditions. We make sure that they're the way they should be. So right now it's June 30th. It may be later than that. It may be, but somewhere around there.
Just to the accessibility issue, the track is designed as a 24-hour facility. It has security lighting that will be on throughout the night. So in reality, you know, when you talk about 24/365, that's exactly what you have there. Those facilities.
We were going to shut it down if anything's open.
I was just wondering, on the original plans,
I think we were going to allow access till dark, like the cemeteries or something like that. That was one of our concerns, liability when that field was open after dark. So, I mean, certainly well into the evening you'd be able to go up there. But if you want to go for a 2 a.m. stroll with your dog, you might want to go somewhere else.
on the original plans that in any other room here, you show baseball fields and everything else. There's nothing of that, they're going to be in there?
Baseball fields are under construction now. The lower portion of that.
There is one baseball field, one regulation baseball field, one regulation softball field, and the possibility of a little league field, depending on how the water filtration plant. We're waiting to, you know, until that gets determined, but there is plans on the lower fields. That's what's designed to go there.
Right now, it's all that up basically is the sewerage, the determination of the sewer line and with the water filtration plant, and how we can kind of run them together, what kind of land we're going to have to do.
Now, it cost $120,000 up there for seed, and that looks terrible up there to me. There is
Well, we're
no
not accepting anything until it's seeded, so.
No, it was $120,000 you spent for seed.
Well, I'd
Up
have to
there.
work on it all.
I'll get it right here for you. I give you a copy right
Jerry,
here.
I'm not telling you, Jerry.
No, but I mean, it's just, I mean, the grass.
Eddie, weren't they gonna reseed it? I mean, that's just,
It's in there.
That was just to
we
keep
want
the
that.
soil.
They're gonna reseed it anyway in the spring is what it is.
How much of the
Same
original,
price?
how much of the original plan is gonna be built up there?
All right.
The track is basically complete. Between the final touches on the track. The field inside the track is complete. It's all sodded. It's ready to have, there'll be 2 cuttings, and they're going to happen pretty soon, so that's all done. These 3 baseball areas, 2 of whom are definitely in progress right now. The upper fields will be seeded appropriately, and they'll be available for multi-purpose use. Whether they're for, you know,
What we
for-
did on that field is we constructed it so that the field will survive hopefully forever. We put in all the infrastructure, totally watered, so that all we gotta do is turn the switch and we can water the whole field. So it
My only
doesn't burn
point to
out
this
the-
question was that it's, one of the issues that was asked about the field down on Ash Street was a place for the senior citizens to go walking. When would the track be available?
There's plenty of walking space up there for senior citizens.
Okay.
and Nobody's gonna.
And they
deny
can go at
walking.
any time. That's just my point, that we're giving them a place to go for a walk.
Eddie, I know I brought up to you before the meeting about, I know it's one thing I wanted to see, you know, squeeze into the field down here behind the old high school, we couldn't do it. But tennis courts, I know I asked you.
I know the last building committee meeting we went out and we got prices, I think they were 20,000 or something a quarter.
Right, we have rough estimates right now. The school committee at a formal meeting asked me to get a cost estimate for tennis courts. We have the space for them.
Right, that seems to be the problem in town, we've got all these fields, but not one tennis court, but all.
Well,
It is our intent,
Okay.
assuming we can afford the cost of them, to put tennis courts in there. Right now, we have a rough estimate of $10,000 per court. The idea would be to put 2 courts in, which is where the $20,000 comes from. But I don't have the actual document.
Right, no,
This is just, making
Right
a
now,
call.
we
What do
have
you
3
think?
nice basketball courts up behind the middle school. They don't even look like they've ever been played on. I mean, that's how, I mean, they just don't get used. If you're behind the
Now, the
middle
school, do you guys have any objection with people using the basketball court when school's in session? And there's no one else, okay.
No, as I've tried to point out, it really is not going to be an issue for us because of how we've been able to locate the building. As I say, the only concern...
No, I'm talking about the basketball courts behind the new high school and the middle school, the brand new courts. That's what Eddie was talking about, I believe. Right?
Just saying they're never used by the public at night, after school or anything. Nobody ever used them. I've never seen anybody playing basketball.
Where?
I'm up there a lot.
Behind the middle school?
Huh?
In the middle school?
Middle school.
Oh, well, not like Kelly's age group and those guys go up and use that, like on the weekends or...
Well, maybe I've never
Well, now
seen
the better
anybody.
weather's coming. In the evening.
But again, are they only allowed after school hours?
Yeah, well, the kids are in school generally during that. I mean, but during
We're getting a
the...
little confused here.
Where'd you get the price for 10,000?
That's why we didn't put any over any other.
That's what I was told.
Wow, because, I mean, we have been...
35 and up.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I think that some concern may be that if the use is being limited down behind where the new school will go, then it would be nice if there would be someplace else that someone could go, because, again, I think it just goes back to the responsibility to be able to say, look, we replaced something, took something away, and now it really is not fair to say you can't use it at a specific time because, we have a commitment someplace else. It would be nice if, through the course of this discussion, that you can make accommodations so that's not going to be the case, and it's not going to be the issue that a taxpayer in the town can say, look at, what's going on here. You told me this and you told me that, and now you're saying I can't use it, so where do I go? And I'm sorry?
Aren't there courts at Vale Street and Fulton Park though that can be used very slow hours?
There are.
Most of them are junk.
The Vale Street court is in great shape. I've played down there myself. There's nothing wrong with the court down at Vale Street.
The tennis courts are.
Oh, no, I'm talking basketball.
Tennis courts out. And
Tennis courts are shut down at Vale Street.
Are they going to close the b-ball courts down at Dean Field? I thought Nympro said they were going to leave that intact.
That's what we wanted to keep
Yeah, that's what we got a lot
in
to
the
keep. And then
very beginning, but they wanted to take it all.
And then I think they gave us a higher price.
They gave us money to do over other courts.
Originally, the price.
But I don't know what their intention is now. It'd be nice
The agreement was they were going to take it off.
When they, just because I don't know the fact, they did all the work on these fields, and they gave you money to use in your budget to do other repairs.
For the land.
So, I mean, is there a sum of $200,000 that you have to repair other areas or something?
We don't have 200,000, but yes, we're going to repair the other parks.
So I guess that's what I'm coming to. If we have the courts that need repair in the other areas, and NIPO gave us the money, could some of that money be used to
Our
repair?
intent is to have playground and basketball repaired in all the existing courts.
So that does
Hopefully the
address-
tennis courts up in the acre, but they're expensive. I don't know where you get that.
Yes, all of that for like $35,000, $40,000 for estimates.
Well, our land is prepared. Maybe that's the difference.
Well, this is an existing tennis court.
Yeah, but
And it's been patched up, I don't know how many times, it's just like putting money into an old car.
So you're actually proposing that part of the money that you get from the sale will be used to rehab the non-existing playground at Vale Street?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
that's
'cause
what we...
I think there's one
With
swing
Nympro,
that's
if I
left
recall.
down there.
Yeah.
That's what it's been all along. That's what
And
we wanted
that's
to do.
obsolete.
That'll go away.
Yeah, I mean, that is not up to code or anything. I mean, that's dangerous. So that all has to be done. But of course, it takes money.
Where's the
You don't get the money to maintain it.
Where's the playground going to go from behind the current elementary school?
You were mentioned earlier. You're going to
The
move
current.
It's movable. We haven't decided what we're doing with it. But when that elementary school playground was put in and purchased, it was with the condition that it could be moved if we needed to move it.
Would you consider putting it on 110?
You could put it up there in the ball fields and we could accommodate it.
It's the same company that Nitro used.
Just a
Game
thought,
time.
I mean.
Rather than throw it away, I'm sure we try to use it.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
The other thing, Dino, is that
We ever
may
get to use
be
it now.
allocated for the kindergarten lot. I don't know what the heights are.
I don't know what the
Yeah, I
age
don't-
limit was put in for it.
Nor do I, but it may potentially be a savings there earmarked for that lot, I'm not sure.
Could be.
I think that's,
Too big?
yeah.
Okay, so it
Even though
wouldn't be.
they could use it, but
Yeah.
going in, new codes and all that,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it'd have to be a lot, the height a lot
Sure.
smaller.
Okay.
Shorter.
Okay. This is just a suggestion. I don't know on time schedules. I know we have commitments on Monday and Tuesday of next week, but we're not meeting next Wednesday. And perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out, that Wednesday, early on, we could get possibly as many as we can to look at some of the spots around town and maybe look at the sites that we're talking, both maintained by Parks and Rec and what schools have, and see if we can look at what needs there are out there, and it's just a suggestion. I mean,
The only complication with Wednesday is that is the first community celebration for Nitro.
Nitro,
First,
yes,
and that's
that's
at
right.
5:30.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd move that we sign this access letter and begin the process. We're only a couple weeks away from the June 1st, and I think I think everyone sat down tonight, we've talked about some of the issues and ironing out the exact details. I think, Parks and Rec should come forward with some numbers on the maintenance requirement. I think the school committee has said in good faith that they'd support that effort. I know from a building committee standpoint, the June 1st deadline is going to really fly up on us. It's literally a few weeks away. And we're trying to package everything. And I think we've talked about all of the different areas in town. I think the playground non-denial of access is a non-issue now, with the superintendent's message that they would not keep people out of the playground, and with other courts in town that have access to, if they did not want to use the elementary, the New Dame Field courts, that we just move on this tonight and kind of delay the dragging out of this. It's taken a little bit too long, and I think it's been important that everyone get together. And I think we need to continue to do this as far as the discussion in this whole project, beyond just the school field and the New Dame Field access for the school, because this is a huge project that the town's undertaking. I think it's important that all of the committees continue to work closely on and understand moving forward the different guidelines. I know I'm committed to bringing forth to you folks, in a stepped process, where we are in this and how things are progressing, and communicate that loud and clear to both the committee and obviously the town. But we are faced with a deadline.
Did you say communicate?
Yes, I did say communicate. Dino, improve my communication on that.
Sounds good.
And we will make every effort to do that and make sure that everyone's kept in the loop there. But June 1st is coming up, so I'd ask that the select board, I'd like to make a motion that we sign this letter tonight and work closely with the school committee and the Parks and Rec in making this happen.
Second.
Do we have a letter to even look at?
There was a letter that the superintendent had submitted.
There was a sample letter that was given some time ago. I didn't bring it with me tonight.
Well, let me just say, I don't know which, just for the discussion, because it's been a first and a second, that, I intend to look myself in whatever way the board goes, but I want to be satisfied in my mind that Parks and Rec is going to follow through with the requirements that they have as the committee that's there to supply public recreation for everyone in the town. And having said that, I think it's important that those kinds of details can be worked out, so that, I know that, you can say Vale Street's down there, but that gets a lot of use, and there's a lot of times a lot of people down there. Well, I see people down there, and, you have busy times and you have slow times, but overall, I go down past that Vale Street at least 100 times a week, because I live in that end of town, so again, I'm just uncomfortable with the fact that someone could be told you've got to get out of here and come back later on. If I'm satisfied in my mind that there's some place legitimately for that person to go to, and it's a place that's got nets on the basketball rings and you know, things of that nature, that makes a difference. But to just say, look at, you know, just sign it, let's go on our merry way, I think that,
Work it out later, it scares me.
you know.
All of a sudden, you'll get half a committee to show up to work it out later.
And I know June 1st is coming, Mark, but I know today is the 3rd, and I think that, you know, it's sometimes a little bit of time is well spent if everyone's issues are satisfied, and I know that, and I'm not knocking Parks and Rec because I know it's very difficult for them in the budget process to get legitimate money to do what they need to do to some of the facilities in our town, and subsequently because of it, a lot of the facilities have really gotten very shabby looking, and through no fault of the committee, because they do the best they can with the little bit of money that they're given to operate the recreational facilities that are under their responsibility. So I think maybe it's a good opportunity for a good eye-opener to really look at and see what needs to do, what the town needs to do to bring those facilities up to, you know, places that look good like the new field does.
Well, you know, when we were going through all this with NIPRO, that was our main concern, that any of this money gotten from that field would be put right back into recreation.
Right, and we supported that.
Right,
Mhm.
and for, I mean, whenever the money does come through, that it would go to all these other fields that need all the improvements.
Or playgrounds. Thursday night, Wednesday night's out, what's wrong with Thursday? I mean, last time we had vacation time, we had holy days, we had everything else, and we got blamed for not meeting with you. That's what the paper said.
What I've done, Mary Rose, is similar to what I think you want to do, is when the issues were brought up about the courts and access, I did go down to Beale Street and I checked out up at Philbin Park as well, and those courts do have nets on them. They're actually, I think they're cloth nets, not, at least at Philbin Park, they're cloth nets, not chain link. So I felt very comfortable with the fact that we could allow people to play on courts in other parts of the town.
I don't think you'd want them playing up in Philbin Park at all.
That's
with the antennas or anything.
Yeah, it's in bad shape. Yeah.
But they're up there. I see them on the way.
Again, the tennis courts at Veal Street, yes, the tennis courts are shut down at Veal Street.
Yes, they are.
That basketball court, there's nothing wrong with it, and if you want us to put nets on it or tighten the hoops, I'm sure we could do that before Friday.
No, but why don't we go down and look Thursday? Why can't we go down and look and see what your plans are to get going on it?
I just think it's delaying a process that's gone on for a long time.
And if some kids are playing on the ball fields, and you've got a minor league or little league game scheduled in, say, 10 minutes, don't you ask those kids to move?
Do I personally?
Well,
I've
whoever-
never had to. I'm
Well-
not involved in that committee.
Somebody's got to move.
Yeah.
If they've got a scheduled game, you're not going to leave the little ones or whoever's out there playing on those fields. So I don't see where this is any different.
You sent the letter, well, it went to town council, and paragraph 3 says, the selectmen have established a precedent by allowing use and control of a portion of the fields to a private nonprofit corporation, namely the Little League, to the exclusion of the general public for a limited period of time. That's not true.
Of course, sure it is.
When the little league and minor league are
Little league
playing,
play,
nobody
who
else
has
can go on
access
those
to that
fields.
field?
To the fields, no, but everything else is open.
Well,
That's
that's
what
the
it
field.
says.
I want to play baseball when they're playing.
Limited access and
You're
control.
going to kick me out, aren't you?
And we're not asking for the complete
We're
fields.
not asking for the whole field, we're asking for a portion of it, same as a little league.
And if the kids are out in the field, that the basketball courts aren't being used, we're not going to kick somebody off the
If the
basketball.
Little League is playing, they certainly have the right to ask people to leave, and we respect that. The men's softball league is playing, and they have the field, they have the right to throw people off, I would imagine. That's all we're asking for, is the same type of access as that. And I don't see how you can approve one group, disapprove another group. I don't think that's legal.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Philbin? When is the deadline for this? You have to have it in, the letter in by what, June 1st?
To the state.
To the state.
Everything as a complete package must be in their hands by June 1st.
Okay. And what have we already, what has the school department already spent on engineering and all these fees?
We are,
It'll be about 600,000 by June.
At June 1st, it'll be $600,000.
I'll tell you very specifically, initially, it was a $20,000 fee to get us to the town meeting. That provided us with the research that was done on the locations, et cetera, plus a $7,000 fee for the borings that were done to make sure the soil was appropriate. So prior to the town meeting, we spent $27,000. Since that time, we've been going in what's called the design phase, because we had to submit schematic drawings by March 1st. We have incurred bills of $211,000 and some odd change, plus $141,000. That takes us through April 26th. Okay, so if you add up those three figures, lordy, almost 400,000, okay? Just in round figures. That's what we've extended as of April 24th. Prior to June 1st, when we have to submit the entire package, the expected cost, and this is pretty accurate, is going to be in the area of $600,000.
That's a total, that's all together.
That's a total
That's
altogether.
The engineering.
That would, the entire thing at that point would be $600,000, all of which is reimbursable. What we're doing at this point, with the assistance of Mrs. Vetros and Mr. Ward, is we're in the process of pursuing some short-term borrowing to make it happen. But when the state reimbursement kicks in, it's based on that entire amount. So this money will be reimbursed in the future at the rate of 73%.
And if we don't get this in by June 1st, then what happens? We lose out of the program?
We will lose an entire year.
So that's $600.
All the construction costs that will continue to
That's
escalate.
$600,000 basically down the tubes then.
That's money that we already owe. I mean, the work's already been done. We have the proof. This is part of the proof right here. We owe this company a substantial amount of money.
So it's a $600,000 loss, basically. Right, correct, okay.
And as I've reiterated before, the SBAB regulations are going to change. I have received official notification in written form, and Mr. Ward has received it as well, that any community that held its building needs conference prior to January 1 would not be affected by the changes. We fit in that category, so we are now assured. If you remember, that was a question of some time ago. Where are we going, could this change or not? We have been assured by the governor's office and by the Department of Education that we will be held to the rules that are in existence at this moment. As they speak, there are changes happening in the regulations for the future as to what will be reimbursable, will the formula change, et cetera, et cetera. And again, it's speculation, but based on some pretty solid information, we're going to get a much better formula under the present rules than we will under any future rules. So I'd be very nervous about not, first of all, you'll have a $600,000 bill that has to be paid regardless. And I'm secondly concerned about the changing rules and what impact that would have on this community.
Still the high school that needs to be demolished.
So I'd like to amend my motion not to have us sign a letter, but to draw up a letter that grants access to the elementary school children for the hours set in the superintendent's letter that he sent, I don't have the date, but in the previous past month, referencing those hours of the day, we grant access to the elementary school students for recess and physical education.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
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 I mean, we want to meet on Thursday, and you just can't seem to want to meet.
I have no problem meeting on Thursday.
Well, what are we doing all this talk for? I brought it up to you before, what's the matter with Thursday? And everybody sits here.
I'm only
nobody
one
wants to
person,
talk.
Mr. Buffin. I don't
I know, but everybody's sitting here, nobody wants to talk.
Thursday's not a good day for me.
And I work.
So
I got out of work tonight.
let's not end here. Let's continue to
And I don't
discuss,
think
Jerry
that's the
and
intent to end.
and Dina, what other issues, those that are opposed, I'd like to hear, how can we better address and take your objections out of the picture so that you feel comfortable with signing such a letter?
Comfortable. I've been through this before.
Okay, so
I've gone through this business before, if going through and signing something, it never gets done. It just seems to fade away the wayside. Every week you go to meet, there's less and less people to come to the meeting. Nothing gets done. It just seems to fade off the
Mr. Buffton, on the
side.
Parks and Rec side, I can sit here and tell you right now, nothing's going to fade away. And I believe
I
the
want to
school
go down to
committee,
these parks and look
I
at all
believe
of
the
them.
school committee is
Same with
very
the school
sincere.
parks.
I
I'm making
believe-
myself available.
I believe the school committee is very sincere on what they're sitting here and telling us tonight, and what they've been sitting here and telling us for the last month. We keep putting it off. They've got lots more work to do.
Who keeps putting
besides-
it off? Who?
I didn't cancel the last 2 meetings, and neither did the school committee.
They didn't.
No.
We told them we'd meet on Tuesday. We can't meet on Tuesday, we're on vacation. We sat right here.
No, no.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, listen.
Well, they sure
Okay.
did.
What I'm trying
Is
to- what I'm
anybody
trying to say
available,
here-
is anybody available for this Friday?
Yes, I am.
During school hours? No.
After work. I can be back in town for 4:30. Dean, are you coming? Jerry?
I'll make it.
Okay. Okay, maybe not everybody can be available. If somebody from Parks and Rec can be there,
I'm available.
okay.
Mr. Bufton, you're around town every single day. I can't believe you don't know what condition these fields are in.
Okay, Ginny, I think we want to all coordinate, and I don't think it's going to help anybody to start taking shots at everybody.
Sure.
Let's try to resolve the issues. Whoever can be available for Friday, let's try to get together.
Yeah, but we had
Okay.
all these issues before us, and everyone had an opportunity to visit the playground and the fields. I did last week.
Okay.
I did, and I know what's out there. But I
Okay.
think that everybody,
Bernie,
you know,
today is May 3rd. You have till June 1st. There have been some requests made. Friday, if who's ever can be there Friday, terrific.
Where and when?
I'm sorry?
Where and
We'll
when?
meet at, right down at the old high school, at the old former superintendent's office. How's that?
Can I ask that...
4:30?
4:30.
Can I ask that the members of the board bring forward, though, and try and articulate what their objections are so that the Parks and Rec and the school committee can at least try to address those, not tonight, but on Friday, bring forward what what do you feel comfortable with, or what do you need to get addressed so that you'd feel comfortable in signing a letter? Because otherwise, it's kind of a moving target, and it would be unfair to continue to meet if we don't know how to come to a resolution. So
Everybody's got a different idea when you go look at the fields.
Totally understood.
No, I know, but you looked at the acre frac, and you thought that buildings, you thought they were great. Now, the Park and Rec can tell you they're not. And the same with the tennis courts down below.
I wouldn't call them great, I'd say, but they play on them.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, I mean,
I've watched
everybody's got
my
their own
ankles.
opinions.
I know.
Why can't we all get together and just look at it and decide what's gonna be done, and we can know what's going on?
Yeah.
I would just rather go with a whole group of us go up and say, well, they can use these fields out here and the times and everything else, and we can go through this.
Where this is a joint board meeting, are we allowed to, who are we allowed to direct through you, Mary Rose?
Yes.
Then Mary Rose, at this time, I would like to direct you through our chair that I'm going to make a motion that the town solicitor please follow through on the school committee's legal opinion at this time.
Mr. President, I have every intent as the town solicitor to render an opinion. I am in the process of putting together an opinion, and I believe that this evening's purposes was to try and get everybody together to move forward to try and resolve things. And I will be putting that opinion together, but I don't think tonight is the appropriate night to be rendering that opinion.
Mr. Bufton, I guess my point was that if you people sign this letter tonight or agree to send this letter, that because they have this letter doesn't mean that the Parks and Rec is going to go away and not follow through with what we...
Is 2 days gonna make a big difference? Is 2 days
Are
actually
you going
gonna
to sit
vet the
there and
work
tell me
gave
that
in?
in 2 days you're going to be willing to get a letter?
Well, 2 days, we gotta go see what we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
but
In 2 days is gonna make a big
You're gonna
difference.
come back, Jerry, and tell us the same thing, well, we've got to meet next week, the next week, and the week after that.
Can I ask a
We're all here today, we should resolve it today.
Can I ask a question from the board?
Absolutely.
The whole floor here. What are we basically meeting on Friday for? What are we basically doing? To look at the Parks and Rec facility?
Yeah, we're going up to school, they said there's facilities up there that they can be open during the day, and we're gonna discuss which ones are gonna be used.
I think, I mean,
Well, I think Parks and Rec are satisfied, so why do we have to go look at it, Jerry?
well, because as selectmen, they want to go look at it, myself included, Bernice, and I think...
I know, but they
I
should
think,
have done it before
Bernie,
tonight.
I think June 1st is approximately 28 or 27 days away. And I think to give us the courtesy of going
But we
on
could get
Friday...
them running around there and
Well,
go.
Bernie, I don't see that as such.
I do.
I mean, you can have your impression. I don't see
Can I
it
ask
as
when your
that.
next meeting is, though, because that's the date I assume that you either authorize or not authorize the letter.
That'd be on May 17th.
We could call a special
Okay,
meeting
just-
at any time as long as it's posted, if the board so desires. It doesn't have to mean that we have to wait till the
regular
next
schedule.
selectmen's
Could we, do we have enough time
Just
to...
for clarification's sake, I just want to, what I thought I heard tonight is that there's a sum of money that's going to be put into the hands of Parks and Recreation to fix the facilities in Clinton for these locations. So when we talk about present versus, what possibilities are, we've already, as a community, it sounds to me, put in the hands of Parks and Rec empowerment to fix the facilities that are in existence right now, to the sum of approximately $200,000.
No,
No,
more
not
like
that.
185.
Well,
185.
180.
So I mean, even though we're looking at facilities that are less than wonderful at this moment, we know that at some point, and I assume in the not-too-distant future, there's going to be funds made available, which they haven't been available in the past, which has caused some damage, but now they're going to have the funds to fix the facilities that they have. So you see, we're already moving forward in repairing what you referred to earlier as the deteriorating state of other facilities. So it seems like we're already addressing that, because you've already assured Parks and Recreation they're going to have a source of funding to make the repairs. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Absolutely, we
Yes,
work
but
very
it can
hard
go
for
in
that.
different ways.
That's part of the...
There's a great way of going in different ways.
But that's a Parks and Recreation.
It may end up in sprinklers, or not in tennis courts, it may end up in something else, or not basketball courts.
But I guess I don't understand what going on to look at the facilities is going to accomplish when a couple months later, most of them are going to be repaired in some way. What is it going to accomplish?
Is there a guarantee to that?
I don't think these...
Now,
Yeah.
didn't we hear earlier that someone say that they could go to a different facility? They could go down to Vale Street and play basketball, they can go over here, they can go to the Acre Park and play, and chase them out of down here, if they had to.
But if somebody...
Well, I want to go see that they're going to get repaired. If you're going to chase somebody else, you're going to have a place for them.
Okay, I think, again...
My question is the basketball courts behind the high school and the middle school.
The majority of the board has requested that we go, and we're going to go Friday night. We're going to meet at 4:30. I will then take it upon myself as chairman to go to each member individually to see if it's they're thinking that they would like to call a special meeting the following the next following week, where we do not have a scheduled meeting, to come forward on that issue, on this one particular issue.
Can I ask Dennis a question?
Well, Bernie, you don't have to come to that meeting if you don't want to. It would be the Board of Selectmen.
Well, you just want to meet yourself.
We can meet by ourselves and discuss the issue.
Would you like me to bring a
at hand.
draft of the letter?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll have that Friday for you Friday afternoon.
I do want to address one issue. There's going to be a decision made on Friday. You need 48 hours notice posted in order to comply with the open meeting law. No, I know, but one of the questions
The decision
was
being, Dennis, to call a special meeting. That's the only thing. And then I would get in touch with the administrator to say, would you post a meeting, say Monday morning, to meet whenever the 48-hour requirement has been met?
Dennis, I have a question.
No.
Your opinion. Is there a need for a written policy on the way the public fields are used in the town? Other towns, do they have policies pertaining to public fields?
It appears that everybody wants me to render the decision this evening, and if that's
Well,
what
I don't-
everybody wants me to do, I'll be glad to do that. But I'm in the process of putting
I'm
together
asking,
my
do we
opinion.
need a
But I'm not
policy?
going to give you an opinion piecemeal, Dina. Okay? I'm going to render an opinion, and I'll be glad to do that, in compliance with the request of the school
That's a
board.
request from the school
Okay,
committee, not
correct.
from me. I'm asking.
You're asking the same
I'm
question,
asking-
Dina.
No, I'm not asking you the same question. They're stating that there is no written policy. I'm saying, do we need one? They're making a statement, I'm asking a question. Do we need a written
And
policy?
I will provide you with my legal analysis of that issue at a later date.
Okay, so we will meet on...
Mary Rose, could I ask that we meet post, because we're within the 48 hours, could we meet as a board, select board, after we've reviewed the different areas of town on Friday evenings? If we're meeting at 4:30, say we meet at 6:30 or 7 on Friday evening for an hour to discuss just this issue.
Are we meeting Monday, we're meeting Monday night, correct?
We're meeting,
Monday night.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an open posted meeting, correct?
Yeah, that's true too.
It's already posted.
Yeah, it's been posted for Monday night.
So we could legally...
We could discuss it at that meeting. Because there's, we're talking like June 1st, is we've got a lot of time, but we truly don't as far as the entire project and the wrapping this thing together. It's a number of days away, but the reality of packaging all of this stuff, it does take a lot of time. And I think we need to be a little bit sensitive to the packaging of the project when it goes into the state. So I'm all for going around and seeing the town recreation areas on Friday afternoon, and hopefully we can bring to closure
At least with a
on Monday.
representative amount of people there. I mean, if we can't all make it, the representative or whoever can attend should
I'll
be
certainly
there.
commit, because I want to make sure that the other parts
I
of
could
town.
probably take a long lunch.
Is the whole board gonna go look at all the, before Friday, or are we gonna come Friday and say, well, we didn't have a chance to look at them?
I think-
Let's meet another time.
I think we're going to, I think we're
I
going to
already
meet.
know what condition they're in, so I don't have to go look at them. I
I
already
know,
know.
they already told you.
If there's no other comments, then we'll adjourn this meeting, and
I'll have the letter ready and the office will be open for once you're
And you round up how many are going to
I'm sorry?
You round up how many from the school are coming. Yeah. Yeah.
So Terry, our goal will be there.
I need to see you.
With the same time they come and do it.
Yep.
Then we go up to the school.
We truly have to get this thing.
What's that, Michael?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, when I said. Yeah. Yeah, just coming up.
Yeah, we'll say, why can't I do it on the site? It is. Then you sign up on one man, make a motion.
I'm going to direct this question to you.
Well, Russ, you have to direct through the chair.
I'm
so
sorry,
that will-
ma'am.
okay.
I want to direct this question. We're talking about playgrounds. When you're talking about a school, you talked about 8 sites, Aaron, right? Did you ever look at the site up on 110?
Yes,
You did?
yes, we did.
I heard you didn't.
Yes, we absolutely did.
You did? Where's the other playground? Where's the other site?
We looked at 2 sites on 110 on the other side of the schools,
Yeah,
and we looked at the site aside of,
Yeah.
either 1 or 2
Mhm.
sites aside of the existing middle school, and then we looked at on top of the middle school,
Yeah.
and then we looked down here.
now I'm going to ask you another question. I asked you this before.
Sure.
You said that that school up on 110 could not be added on to.
Without the expense, that would be higher.
Expense would be more than building a school down here?
That's correct.
How much?
As I believe 27 million, 26 or 27 million, would be displacing the students, mobile classrooms for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was some of the
You
big
got
costs.
playgrounds up there and everything else, and here we are going to run all around town and looking for playgrounds, and you got them up there at that school, and that school was built when it was built that it could be added on to.
But the code's changed since the time that was built. So again, when we moved and we voted on this in town meeting and in the debt override, we brought forward the most cost-effective solution, Russ, that we possibly could come forward with.
Yeah.
And the field issue is an issue that I believe the board will come to a resolution on.
I hope they don't, because I hope that
No,
town
but
stays, the
sir, you
field
have
stays
that
where
field.
it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. I just, again, in fairness to Mark, you know, I know he does serve on committee, and he has been newly elected as a chairperson, but I don't think it's fair to really put Mark on a hot seat as though he's on trial here. So, you know, George, if you could just direct...
George McNamara, 112 Flag Street, Clinton, Mass. This is for the whole board, through you. As you know, what we've been putting up with down Flag Street, I don't know if everybody on the board has been down there, they should have been down there. It's getting close to completion as far as they're doing some landscaping now. There is going to be a closure point. And on February 3rd, a representative from that company was up here and stated about Flag Street. One of the conditions of approval of the site was the end of Flag Street nearest the new driveway of the applicant will be closed off. Planting of shrub, bark mulch, and so forth, with the approval of the DPW, of the selectmen, and the selectmen, for the closure of Flag Street. Flag Street was never closed. I spoke to one of the members a couple of times, and he asked me if it was closed yet, and I said no. A temporary thing was to put the Jersey barriers up, because the trucks are not supposed to be using Flag Street. They are still using Flag Street. Are you familiar with Forest Avenue?
Yes.
You know how narrow Forest Avenue is?
It's a one-way street.
Yeah, a truck come out there the other day. A trailer truck went through there the other day. Didn't know where he was, completely lost. They're supposed to put up signs. Today, I noticed they took down a sign. It was set on Lewis Street, no trucks. This afternoon, guess who went up? A truck went right up Lewis Street, turned on Flag, onto the new road. They put berms in, so I know they're not planning on closing it. The selectmen, the gentleman said up here, it's up to the selectmen to see about closing that street. Selectmen have not closed the street. The selectmen intend to close the street.
Yes, that was our intent, George.
I believe I even talked to Chief Levenger about having police patrol down there. You know, and he said as long as it's posted, they wouldn't. I assured him it was posted. So I don't know, have you seen any police cruisers down there anywhere?
I've seen them down there the last time after we complained. There's a stop sign. What's the story?
Because they weren't using the truck route, that was the problem.
They're not using a truck route. No, they're coming right down Flag Street. They're going, it's an access. It's an access road, right through.
They're really going all, I mean, I'm up on Howland Street, they're flying down Howland Street as well, and no truck.
Part of the agreement, excuse me, part of the agreement was they wouldn't use Greeley, wouldn't use Lawrence, wouldn't use Flag, wouldn't use Lionel. Now, they're coming down Flag Street, so I know they're going down Highland. I know they're using Greeley, I know
they're
they're
down Parker and then off to Brook.
That's right, and they're not doing it.
No. I've seen it.
But I mean, the big thing here is they should close off Flag Street. We voted on it before to close it off. It should have been closed off.
Mark, I think if we're talking about the same area, same location, I believe the fire chief said they were going to put in a breakaway gate there to be used by fire apparatus.
They don't need it on it. That's in back of me.
Okay,
That's Adams Street. You're thinking of Adams Road.
Is that with the...
No, you're down too far. You're back, you come back up this way, right across the forest. You go to the little forest down there.
Oh, the
breakaway gate is going to be on Flag Street from them to come out, and in back of the building. And the trucks are using it now.
You're talking straight ahead.
Right, okay.
They're supposed to be, before anything signed or issued on here, I don't know who issues all the permits. There's people already using the building. I think you're aware of that.
What I will tell you, George, is I have a half a day Friday, and so I'm going to be in town a little bit afternoon time. So Michael, if you could get in touch with Chief Levenger, and perhaps the three of us can go down.
And also the building inspector.
And the building inspector, and anyone else who may be around town. It's a very serious problem, and I agree with you.
And they're not using that stop sign.
No, that's why the cops are...
The only way they use it, and they put up a stop sign on the corner, which...
well, you know, I'll tell you that why that one was put, George. Where Frankie Podas has his building on the end, when they come around the corner, they come out, they can't see him.
No, that's right. Well,
so that's why that one's on there.
Prior to this ever going up, that's what we said. That was wrong. But that thing was up a week, good week. I didn't even know it was there. I was going right through. Somebody said, stop sign. What stop sign? It was on the corner here. Now, no notice was ever put out that there was one, even a line, a white marker, so you get some idea. So the only way that some of these trucks will stop, when you stop there and then make the corner, if they see you, they will stop. Other than that, they come.
Well, we had the cops down there checking out.
Yes, and two of the residents got warnings.
Huh?
Two of the residents got warnings. No trucks. No trucks.
That's a pain, sir.
Yes. So before this thing is, any permits or anything, they can occupy it, is there going to be some type of hearing to address all these problems?
I can promise you we'll be on it Friday.
Okay.
Because you're absolutely right, everything that you're saying. We committed that we would get that all straightened up out there, so.
Now, we did complain about the sand, I don't know, next to me. That thing is still there. It's been there since last...
I think that's up there. The last of it, most of it's loom, I think, George. You're hauling, they're spreading that.
Yeah, they're taking care of everything except the thing next to me.
Yeah.
Probably because I complained there too. But it's been there since last August, 8 months now.
They're spreading it. I think that's going to be the last of it.
You don't have to live in my house. My wife keeps a very, 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 very clean house.